Welcome into another edition of New Track Record Podcast. Caleb Hatch, Justin Kinney with you on this beautiful, sunny...
Spring is here.
Spring. It almost feels like summer outside. I had my sunroof down.
Did you?
On the drive here, or open, down, not
very
down.
Nice.
I guess open would be the correct
I had my windows
phrase.
down. Yes, very nice. What a difference a week can make.
Yeah.
Snow last weekend. It's 65 today. It's going to be very nice tomorrow. And then dropping back into reality. But it feels like the Indy 500 is just around the corner.
It feels like we're ready for the open test.
It is not.
It's not.
Around the corner,
it's November 14th.
But you have us in the meantime.
Yes, and we actually do have some things to get to. We have more lights announcements. We have another driver confirmed in the Indy 500. We have another full season sponsor confirmed as well in IndyCar, plus a rumored driver that I think was more mind-blowing than any of us could have predicted. We'll get to that in regards to Indy 500 driver announcements. All to come, plus our random split air driver of the week, as always, on this week's episode. So, obviously, I think the headline story, Ryan Hunter-Reay confirmed at Arrow McLaren for the 2026 Indy 500. And I did notice this in the write-up, that it's a 2-year deal, which I found fascinating.
Which I didn't know until you let me know, but with all the names that were thrown around for potentially this seat, it's not exciting that it, quote unquote, ended up being Ryan Hunter-Reay, but he's a dude that has proven, obviously, that he can win at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and be very competitive. And I think it's a worthy addition when we talk about potential winners of this race and competitors to win this race. And of course, won it in 2014. Has had some struggles since in the last several years with Dreyer and Reinbold and even toward the end with Andretti. But we know that given the right equipment and support, Ryan Hunter-Reay can be a factor at Indianapolis. And that's what we expect next May, now racing with McLaren.
Well, and it's not just, he had a shot despite everything stacked against him last year. You have a fire on Carb Day. He looked at the car they were putting together for the race, and it was like the pit stop practice car, and he's like laughing. He's like, oh, what are you guys doing with that? Like,
this is your race car for the race day.
He's like, no, you're kidding me. But had a chance to win, just needed slightly more fuel to make that final pit stop, and he was looking good. So, look,
that was with Dreyer and Reinbold.
Yeah,
right?
that was, and Dreyer and Reinbold is a competitive entry, yes. And the drivers in those cars are simply racing to win, and they've had some good runs over the last several years. Those cars are fast. The year before, remember at Dreyer and Reinbold, he qualified in the Fast 12. So, certainly a good entry, but obviously at McLaren, it's a whole other level, and he can race. He knows he has a car capable of winning, and I think this is good for the team in terms of an experienced veteran, very good at IMS, very good on ovals. There's a lot to help Christian Lundgaard, who is coming into his own, and I think could be a championship contender as soon as 2026. He had his best result in the Indy 500 this year, and then also, in particular, Nolan Siegel, who obviously had Tony Kanaan as a mentor in his first attempt to qualify for the Indy 500, didn't make it, and then obviously working with TK last year. So Pato O'Ward doesn't need assistance, but hey, I'm sure Pato will take another veteran on the team that has a legit shot to contend. Kyle Larson was a great story, but last year it did not work out.
Well, and while we were looking forward to maybe a what Zach Brown called a mega driver, this helps McLaren immeasurably because it's not somebody that's coming in that's foreign to the month. Kyle Larson, the last couple years, obviously it was new to him. So the entire team, in a way, had to support him and help him along through the month and all that stuff. You don't have to do any of that with Ryan Hunter-Reay, right? It's just plug and go with him. He knows what to do. He knows the nuances of the month and has raced this car recently, so it's not something that he has to familiarize himself with the car. Obviously not with McLaren, but with the engine formula and all that stuff. So I think it's an addition to McLaren that maybe isn't flashy, but gives them with that car a great chance for a win for that car. I know a lot of people were talking about Kyle. It never to us, you and I felt like Kyle Larson could win the Indianapolis 500. I mean, just because he was so new to it, right?
Yeah.
But now we go to immediately in that car, you say you have somebody in that seat that can win this race. And that is huge.
Well, and it's not just that he's going to be, competitive and it boosts the team. It's that we talked about a multi-year deal. He even said, telling Marshall Pruitt at Racer.com, he's doing development testing next week. He'll be in the car for 3 days. So it's that they'll get this relationship and the working element out of the way pretty much immediately after this announcement. So it's that they can build that chemistry as a team. There's always a question mark when you talk about a Indy 500 only entry in terms of pit stops, right? But they're moving into their new shop, now? It feels like it's imminent. I think they already have moved in. I know they've at least done, the building is operational in terms of, so whether they've moved in, and I'm not sure on this, whether they've moved in already or about to move in, it's imminent either way. So all these things, I think we do forget about with McLaren last year, they didn't have a shop big enough for their team.
No.
So now they finally have that.
It is, it's all going to work out. And McLaren obviously spare no expense, right? There's going to be no, and that's, the issue. As good as Ryan Hunter-Reay was for Ryan Reinbold the last couple of years, it is still a bare bones operation in terms of Indy only, right? And limited amounts for sim time and all that stuff. But spare no expense with McLaren. He will have everything he needs to be ready for May, and then even throughout May to be ready to go for another Indianapolis 500 win. So this is a tremendous opportunity for Ryan Hunter-Reay at 44 years old. We thought maybe his best opportunities at Indianapolis were behind him, but now all of a sudden you look at a guy that, and with other drivers around the paddock at around this age that are still competitive, you go, why not Ryan Hunter-Reay at Indianapolis with McLaren? And looking forward to see him on track for the open test and May for the next 2 years, apparently, as you pointed out.
Yeah, multi-year deal. So one would assume that he'll have him locked in. And look, it makes sense because we're talking about 26 and 27 being the final 2 years of this specific engine formula car,
supposedly.
Yeah, true. Very true. Let's hope that remains true. Then on the flip side, because I think two things are true here. I think they got the best driver that they could in terms of a legitimate shot to win the Indy 500 in that fourth car. Right? Would you agree?
Right. And here's maybe a question, because there were other drivers from other disciplines thrown around and rumored. Do you feel that McLaren decided to go with a veteran 500 driver as opposed to chasing a big splash? Or do you feel like those other ones fell through and that's why? Because part of me thinks that McLaren was like, all right, Kyle Larson was nice. That was great. We could go this direction and have another big name, or we can try to win this damn race. And that's kind of where I feel with McLaren, and who knows behind the scenes, and I'm sure it'll never come out whether they had to quote unquote settle for Ryan Hunter-Reay or they really made it a priority to go after him. But this is great for McLaren, who still is looking for a championship, still is looking for a 500 victory, and saying, and it wouldn't be surprised if Zach Brown was like, all right, we're going to focus on winning this damn race. Before we continue to have these highly publicized drivers in here and all that stuff that really don't give us a great chance to win the race, we're going to put somebody in here who can and try to win this damn thing.
I think they went with the best option that was available.
They definitely did. And it's not splashy. It's not flashy. It doesn't put headlines on ESPN.com and stuff like that. But for us Indy car fans and lifers, we look at this and say, this is a pretty darn good move.
Yes, absolutely. So I think it's true that they got the best driver that they could in terms of winning the race. I think it's also true that, yeah, of course we're a little disappointed when we found out who that potential driver was. And it's Valentino Rossi, 7-time MotoGP champion, the best to ever do it in that discipline. I don't think anyone's going to question that. And he's done some WEC races in the last couple of years. He's done some sports cars through different series as well. He's tested with Ferrari, in fact, like numerous times way back I'm talking Ferrari F1. And the way I read it was that he kind of had a shot if he wanted to pursue it in terms of an F1 career. And yes, it was said, and I forget if it was Domenicali or someone else or Montezumalo, I think.
Yeah.
Said like, yeah, if we had the option for a third car, he would be in the third car. But That's easy to say because it's not an option, right? It's all hypothetical. But I think when you look at what this would have meant, not just in America, but I think globally, that would have been a massive, massive story.
Yeah, and
like this blows away. Like we were thinking Jenson Button, Daniel Ricciardo. Like that was kind of our thought process, right?
Correct.
That's who we kind of narrowed it down to. Both had driven for McLaren previously. Ricciardo had kind of flirted with the idea. But I think this blows away even where we thought this would have gone, because I mean this does draw headlines on ESPN and globally.
Yes,
we're talking about the greatest MotoGP rider of all time. We're talking about a guy who, even if you don't know anything about MotoGP, if you at least 25 years old and you follow motorsports of any kind, you probably heard the name.
Yes. And it would create headlines. It would have a lot of eyes in May on the sport and the race. But is Valentino Rossi giving you a chance to win the Indianapolis 500? No, he's not. And that goes back to my point of McLaren deciding whether they want to offer this seat consistently to people that are going to raise the profile of the race and the series. Or are they going to find drivers that can help them win an Indianapolis 500? And whatever path they came to Ryan Hunter-Reay doesn't really matter. All it is deciding on Ryan Hunter-Reay. Rossi would have been huge. Danny Rick would have been huge. Jenson Button would have been huge. But all three of those wouldn't contend to win the Indianapolis 500 their first time out. That's just facts. And as we've said, Ryan Hunter-Reay can do that. So maybe in the future, one of those three, potentially, maybe. But it's also kind of tough to see in the near future if anything like that happens. To your point, Ryan Hunter-Reay is a 2-year deal. Then you have a new engine formula, allegedly, in 2028, and a new car, allegedly. So are you really going to throw somebody unfamiliar into that?
But I guess that's the time to do it because everyone's in a
levels
new
the playing field.
Yeah, it does level it a bit.
But I think also, conversely, do you want to put somebody that's more veteran in an extra seat because you need all the data you possibly can, right? As opposed to trying to help somebody along. So who knows if any of those three ever get a shot. But when we talk about opportunities and chances to win this race, Ryan Hunter-Reay is exponentially higher percentage-wise than any of those three.
That said, Valentino Rossi, like, I mean, did you ever follow MotoGP or
not enough?
Like, did you ever go when it was in Indianapolis?
No, I never went.
Okay, I think I went once, maybe twice. Very cool. I mean, what they do on those motorcycles is unbelievable. I mean,
right? Yeah,
I don't follow it. Like, I at least was aware of it, 10, 15 years ago, and could probably name 5 riders. I mean,
really,
Rossi, Marc Marquez, who's kind of the name. There's let's see who else. Nicky Hayden, the late great Nicky Hayden. You have Cal Crutchlow, which is just a cool name,
right? Yeah.
And then Jorge Lorenzo, who was actually teaming with Valentino Rossi late in his career. So, like,
how many times did you go to the race down in Indy?
I think once.
Okay,
once or twice. Definitely once. Very cool. Those bikes are incredibly loud. Like, I thought the F1 cars were loud when they were
really?
in Indy.
They're louder than the...
I feel like they were just as loud or louder.
Wow.
But
yeah, what they do, we talk about open wheel racing, it's dangerous and stuff. And, it's
and then there's MotoGP.
I mean, just an absolute insanity. Especially in the corners, which is how low they get. You know, they got to wear the pads on their knees because their knees are scraped. It's just nuts. But it would be an absolute, even with the experience of testing an F1 car and doing some sports car stuff, it would be an epic learning curve for Valentino Rossi. And I think I look for him is he a guy that would want to do it multiple years? Because similar to Kyle Larson, it's very much even more so than Kyle Larson, a learning experience year one. Right. And so is he a guy that's going to want to come back? And conversely, McLaren, do they want to commit to somebody for multiple seasons? I think it was immensely beneficial for the series and for attention for Kyle Larson to have 2 years.
But I think the first year is the only year it truly made an impact.
Right, exactly. But did running Kyle Larson for 2 years get McLaren any closer to winning the Indianapolis 500?
No.
And I agree there. So if the goal, and that's kind of where you look at McLaren and some of these other teams that have kind of went away from, bringing in shock guys to run the 500 is, I think, now make no mistake, if Valentino Rossi wanted to run the 500 for McLaren, he's in the seat, right? But at the same time, I think McLaren is getting to that point where, look, we're not here to get all the headlines and all that stuff. Like, we're here to win the race, and that's where all these other teams have gotten, right? They don't entertain extra cars just for more headlines and more media passes that they need to pass out. They are here to win the Indianapolis 500, and I think to a certain extent, Zach Brown has come around to that, and now is saying, all right. And who knows, maybe in 2 years they have somebody wild and crazy in the seat. But I just feel like maybe McLaren's looking at this and saying, all right, is it worth the splash? Or are we really, really trying to get one of our drivers' faces on the Borg Warner? And I feel like this move, the Ryan Hunter-Reay move, shows that they are.
Also, though, this marks the first time in a few years that we don't have some sort of splash driver in the field, right? So I mean that part is a bit of a bummer in terms of not having, a name outside of IndyCar participating.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Which, affects the attention on the race, but I'm fine with that. Not every year. I mean, we don't need a Fernando Alonso or Kyle Larson every year, in my opinion. There was a time when the Indianapolis 500 wasn't getting close to a sellout. Ratings were down, that you felt, all right, when Fernando Alonso did this race, you felt like, man, this is going to be a good boost for attendance and viewers. And I don't feel like the Indianapolis 500 is there right now. It could in the future, but the 500 is back to almost, if not being a sellout. And as we saw last year, ratings up considerably. Now, the hope is that continues. I just feel like at some point, you just be like, look, this is our product. These are the regular drivers that race in this race, and it's going to stand on its own. We don't need any extra attention from other disciplines to raise the profile of this race.
Oh, for sure. I agree. It's just more of like, this will be the first time since I think, 23, because you had Jimmy Johnson do the race in 22, right? And 21 or just 22? I mean, you had Grosjean.
20, just once, right? I think Jimmy Johnson only did it once.
Did it once? I thought he did it twice.
Maybe he did it twice.
And then
such a terrible memory.
Yeah. It's that was several years ago, which is hard to believe because it feels like it just happened. But Either way, yes. No, I feel like the Indy 500 is healthy. Now, are we expecting 7 million viewers again? I don't know. It'd be great. It'd be great. Fox has knocked it out of the park with promotion and look, that was viewership with, a couple of rain delays as well. So obviously you feel good about that. All right. Elsewhere in IndyCar news, no surprise really, especially after
One
the
year,
sponsor.
Indianapolis 500, excuse me.
22?
2022 was the one year for Jimmy Johnson.
So 21, Grosjean didn't do Indy, right?
No, I don't think so.
And then obviously in 20 you had Alonso. And, well, attempted in 19 as well.
Yeah. Yes, which was a story in itself, obviously getting bumped, but it didn't work out.
I agree with you, though. I think IndyCar's momentum is at a good spot in terms of they don't need that secondary storyline to provide a boost.
Yeah, exactly. Because to your point, I don't think Kyle Larson in 2025 in year 2 was a tremendous boost to rating.
No, I think it was in 24.
Yes, exactly. But I think you look at the number, the viewership this past year, I don't think you look at, well, that's because Kyle Larson.
Correct.
Right?
No, I don't think so at all.
So to me, we've moved past, at least for now, man, it'd really be great to get a so-and-so to kind of really boost that TV rating because I think, like you said, upward trajectory, knock on wood that we can continue. I think even like a incremental boost from last year's rating, like a 1 or 2% growth would be amazing. I mean, even just staying the same would be amazing considering how much it went up to your point. Like, can they get 7 million plus again? So, but overall, I think we're in agreement that the race becomes more exciting with every driver team combo that we feel can win this race. And neither of us truly felt that Kyle Larson McLaren combo was that the last 2 years. The Ryan Hunter-Reay McLaren combo is definitely in the conversation.
Elsewhere, this is not a surprise, but Louis Foster gets a contract extension, multi-year contract extension with Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing after his sponsor was announced as extended with the team, a week or two ago. This felt like a lock. He was already on contract for next year, so it's not like they suddenly signed him and now he's locked in. He was already locked in for 26, but this, I would assume, adds a couple more years onto that. Obviously, good news all around. That's building a foundation for that team. Now it comes down to, can you get Mick Schumacher to come over? And it's still very much in play from what I've read. It's just kind of he's taking his time to decide and figure out what he wants to do. Well, he wants to go back and race WEC with Alpine or come over to the U.S. Those seem to be his main options.
And you feel like with that decision, well, let's talk about Louis Foster first, because first off, the best stash in the paddock returns,
yes,
when he wants to keep it. But I thought, for his rookie season, wasn't ideal finishing where he was, 23rd. But you have to consider the team he is with, I think, which is absolutely fair. And the fact that he's an Indy Lights champion and deserves a second year and potentially a third year. You hope that the performance comes up a little bit. You'd like to see him competing in the high teens this year in points, like 17th, 18th, 19th, as opposed to 20, sub 20, right? You want to see some growth this year. I think that's key for Louis Foster. But the fact that he doesn't have to worry about his seat this year, seemingly, because of a multi-year deal, and having the sponsor in your corner definitely helps as well.
I mean, he had a pole position. He had several top 12s, a couple of fast sixes. Like, the speed was always there. It was getting the results. And I think part of that's being a rookie in IndyCar, right? I mean, that's kind of one of the things we saw Kiffin Simpson make that huge jump from year 1 to year 2. And it would not shock me if we saw Louis Foster do the same as well.
I mean, he made some rookie mistakes, rookie moves that were a little bit questionable, but finished, 12th, 13th in the 500, something like that. So, I mean, he for a rookie, was very impressive at the 500, stayed out of trouble. Think to your, like you mentioned, learned a lot rookie season and definitely deserves an opportunity. And I think, growth with that team will be very, very important in year 2.
He didn't have a single top 10 finish, and yet I still feel really high on what he can do.
I think
12th at Indy, 11th in the Indy GP, 11th at Road America, where
you mentioned
he did win the pole.
Yeah, right. So And two, you got a grade on a curve with that team too. So ideally for team and driver alike, you see some improvement in year 2. If he's back trying to be in the leader circle, then you start kind of a little bit in year 2. But I think he did everything he needed to and learned some in year 1. Got on some people's bad sides a couple times, but that's just all about the learning curve and seeing what you can and can't do on track. So promising season I felt for Louis Foster, and he'll continue at least for the next couple years with RLL.
Adam Stern pulled this quote from a dive bomb story that said, Jay Fry has definitely by far been the biggest impact on the team this year without a doubt. The sponsors he's brought, I think the whole Mick Schumacher thing was mainly because of him. Guy is a demon of that kind of stuff. One of the quotes from that story. So I do think Jay Fry's made a big impact, and now a full year to make that impact. We'll see what he can do in 26.
And this is when we expected Jay Fry to really have his biggest impact in the offseason, right? I mean, when we first learned about this news, everybody was like, oh, this is going to be great for Rahal Letterman-Lanigan. And we were like, well, let's wait until after the season, because he was really thrust into that close to the start of the season, right?
Yeah, the season had already started, I think, right?
Yeah,
or was about to start.
Right, so this was when the true gains were going to be made under Fry, and I think we're seeing that with Rahal Letterman-Lanigan. You're hoping we see it on track starting at St. Pete in late February, but these are the positive steps for that team we've expected to see under Jay Fry once you gave him time to really work his magic in the offseason. And it's been encouraging. And I think with Mick Schumacher, do you feel like by year's end we know?
I think so.
Do you feel like, because what are we holding out for Mick Schumacher? If you're Mick Schumacher, I mean, is there has it been teased for a reserve driver seat in Formula One or something?
He lost... Yeah, I mean, he lost out on the Cadillac F1 reserve driver seat. So that was probably going to be his best option.
Yeah, so I mean, the thing is like if it's WEC or Indy, there's nothing we're waiting for, at least for new opportunities. So I think by year's end we know if Mick is in or out.
I think so too. I fully agree with that. One other big announcement by a team this week, and this is really cool. They announced it on Veterans Day, and rightfully so. But Santino Ferrucci's number 14 car will be sponsored by Homes for Our Troops all season long, not just for the Indy 500. The livery donated by Hendricks Commercial Properties and Geronimo Hospitality Group. Geronimo Hospitality Group, I believe, is based in Indianapolis, or at least has some restaurants in Indianapolis. So as America celebrates its 250th birthday next year, tying this in, a season-long deal. Very cool. Very exciting to see this car at every race weekend.
Very cool. And a good article by Marshall Pruitt on the AJ Foyt racing team and how this came about, and losing ABC Supply, and then having who they have on board.
Sexton Properties.
Yeah, Sexton Properties. And then the matriarch of Sexton passes away. And so where was this team at? And just the process of where this team has gone from the highs and lows financially just over the last couple of years. And now we see Foyt getting into Indy Lights, right? That's a positive sign in terms of the health of the team. And this announcement of the full-time sponsor for the entire season is a positive as well. So good to see. Sharp looking car, and looking forward to at least one car on the grid, not worrying about what color they are every single week.
Well, and same with his teammate. I mean, I think those colors for Kyle Collette are going to stand out with the Brazilian flag colors, right? With the green, the blue, the yellow, and white mixed in. Those cars will stand out for sure. And Marshall Pruitt did have an update in the Racer Mailbag. And the update is, well, there's really no update. It's unclear if Penske's continuing with any sort of alliance or partnership with Foyt for 2026.
Which is weird, because I thought it had been said that wasn't continuing, but now potentially it is. Or maybe we just presumed that it would not continue. So we'll see. It would obviously be a tremendous boost for Foyt if that continued, but I think they're in a spot to, even without that, be more competitive.
Mm-hmm.
And make no mistake, what they learned under the tutelage of Team Penske last year will definitely be utilized.
Yeah, they may not have the results compared to last year when they had two high-caliber top 10-ish level drivers in the sport on the same team. I mean, when you have a rookie coming in, there's going to be a learning curve, obviously. But, I mean, Collette's got a lot of speed. He should be very quick on ovals, no doubt. And we know what Santino Ferrucci can do. So I think it's an exciting team. And between them and ECR, it's going to be a fun mid-pack battle, at least based on what we saw last year.
I thought Marshall Pruitt made a really good point in the mailbag, I believe it was, with these quote-unquote ride buyers, and we've talked about them a lot, especially the last couple weeks. And something that I didn't consider, too, is trying to hire a team around ride buyers, because there's just not a lot of positivity around that.
It's a great point.
The drivers that we really feel are seat fillers that haven't, quote-unquote, earned the spot in IndyCar. And if you're competing with any other team trying to hire, whether it's engineers or pit crew or whatever, it's really tough to compete with those teams, because even if it's similar money or close, you're like, well, I'm going to take the better thing that could be a more competitive car and helps my career, as opposed to I'm going to go work for Team A with B driver that's bringing a lot of money, but we know he's not competitive, and trying to work through that. And basically a miserable season if you're running, 24th, 25th all year. So I thought that was a good point that I've never really thought about. That was a great little nugget from Marshall Pruitt.
It's morale of the crew. It's not just...
Yeah, it's huge.
There's a big check, and we know they're not going to be competitive. It's a great point. And speaking of ride buyers, Dale Coyne Racing. Great segue. He's had his fair share of ride buyers, but hey, that's kind of why people love Dale Coyne Racing, because they make it happen, and they give a lot of drivers an opportunity, like your Alex Palous, your David Malukas', so on and so forth. Santino Ferrucci as well. Update on his driver timeline. Obviously, it didn't happen by Halloween for the second car. Dennis Hauger already confirmed in one of the entries. But now, Coyne saying, quote, "It has to be by Thanksgiving," telling Racer.com. "You can't go to Christmas because you can't get anything done in December. And now it's the middle of January for getting done. That's a month before the season starts, so it has to be before Christmas. I would say December 15th is the latest, definitely before Santa." So it has to be by
We're
Thanksgiving.
all over the place here.
Has to be by Christmas. Has to be December 15th. Either way, this is a fun thing we will continue to follow until we have a driver.
Well, apparently a month before the season is now way too late for Dale Coyne Racing, which is
we're a week of.
Yeah,
TBA.
jokingly, that's previous years when Coyne would start searching. But no, all kidding aside, Thanksgiving's later this year, so he has more time in December to make this happen. We'll see if it does.
As far as drivers, Romain Grosjean, Jacob Abel, Connor Daly, all mentioned, along with Linus Lundqvist in the story. I have no clue. What is interesting is, and someone, I forget who pointed this out, I was just kind of reading, Marshall references Todd Alt in terms of the story, but Coyne never mentioned Alt in the quotes. Am I reading way too much into that, or
maybe because we are recognizing what's been going on elsewhere in terms of drivers not being mentioned? So I'm going to point to it being that doldrums of the off season where we're trying to find stories that aren't stories.
Okay,
but I
think
will
you're right.
Recognize it if it does come out later on that it meant something.
Yes. So that's the update in terms of silly season and where things stand. We go in and, look, next week could be a pretty either busy week or quiet week, and then it just kind of feels like that's about it in terms of driver announcements through the end of the year. Like Coyne said, he's got a point. Like if you don't get announced prior to Thanksgiving, it's pretty quiet right after that until after the first of the year.
Very much is. And so, especially with so few seats already, still up in the air, or at least still yet to be officially announced. So did we have the entire grid set before Christmas last year?
That's a good question.
We were close.
I think we were close.
That. Maybe not definitely, but we could potentially be in a position where we definitely are in a position already, again, that the majority of the field is set. And who knows, fingers crossed, maybe we can have the entire grid set by the holidays. But to the point, I mean, if you don't get anything done by the latest second week of December, it's going to be a month until you hear anything.
For sure. One other notable thing, talking about Grosjean, he's parting ways with Lamborghini after a 3-year tenure as a factory driver. That was announced last week, basically, I think right after we recorded. So something else to keep in mind in all of this.
Could that somewhat...
So was that the delay?
Right, yeah.
Potentially?
Maybe, potentially. See, well, once again, the offseason where we're looking into every little thing, right?
Yes.
We'll see.
If you agree or disagree with us, we'd love for you to interact with us. You can always find us on social media, IndyCar Podcast, the handle on Twitter/X, also on Instagram, on Facebook. Just search for New Track Record. You can email us your questions, comments, rants, concerns, newtrackrecordpodcast@gmail.com. Support us via Patreon, patreon.com/newtrackrecord. And as always, download and listen on your favorite podcasting platform, whether that is Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcasts. So we get to the mailbag and a few things to get to. Even though it's the off season, we have some good stuff to dive into this week. First, we have Lynn saying, Lynn_IndyCar. Wow, Justin, Nerd World, rejoicing with your competition of Axis and Allies board game. Full recap. So, how did it go?
Oh, yeah, our weekend last week. So I won't get into the full recap. We had a lot of fun. Played 3 games over 3 days, met a lot of cool people, and that's not sarcasm when you go to a board game convention and think you may. I mean, it was fun. We met some dudes from California and Utah and had a lot of drinks with them and stuff over the weekend. So the first game, it was funny because we sat down and these guys, they bust out notebooks where they had written down dozens of games they have played together and by themselves, and like details of what they had done each game, what they had bought each turn, like just insane. And we're like my brother and I are looking at each other like, what did we get ourselves into? These guys waxed the floor with us, right? But they were really cool in that they helped us along and say, look, this is what you did that you shouldn't have done and what you didn't do that you should. It was very much a great experience, a learning experience. We ended up.
Did they win the whole thing?
They were in the championship on Sunday. I don't know. We left before the championship got over. But, yeah, they were really cool. We won our second game really close on Saturday, and then lost a close decision on Sunday. So we went 1-2, had a lot of fun. Won't be the last time we do that. I mean, it was funny because we played the 40th anniversary edition of Axis and Allies, which is they give you a 6-hour time limit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it usually takes 6 hours.
Right, yeah, usually close to. And then there's a global edition, which is a 9-hour game. And so the real serious players were in the global tournament, right? So take Friday, for example, we finished up our game about 5:30, immediately started drinking and eating and all that stuff. We came back into the banquet hall where it was at like 9:30, like half drunk. Well, I was really drunk, like drunk and all that stuff. These guys are still playing at like 9:30 because
for the global edition?
Global game. And like still like locked in and all this stuff. Like it was just,
I could not do that.
They're like that's way too much for me. But overall, for the experience, we stayed. This is kind of interesting too. Is a state we did at the Hope Hotel in Dayton, which was the place where in 1999 the Kosovo peace accords were signed.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so the woman, the wife of the primary American diplomat that was responsible for getting the Serbs and all these people all in one room, and they wouldn't talk to each other. Like he had to be very much the intermediary. Anyway, the wife of that diplomat came that weekend, not affiliated with the board game event, obviously, for the first time in 25 years, had been back there. And it was really cool. She was in there and said some words and all that stuff. So it was really cool to see see her and the history and all that stuff of a conflict that I really don't know a lot about. But overall, it was a great weekend. Went to Bombers and Brews at the Air Force Museum, which was closed because the government shut down, but was open for us on Saturday night, and had a lot of beer there and walked around. And so it was a great weekend. But
you got to be in the cockpit of a bomber.
Yes,
right? Which
bomber? B-1B bomber.
Nice.
We got into the swept wing supersonic bomber. I had to stand in line for like 50 minutes for it, but
it was worth it, right?
Yeah, how often do you get a chance to sit
Never.
in a bomber, right? So it was interesting. So we get into the cockpit, and they said you can take pictures looking out of the cockpit with all the gauges, but you cannot take pictures of the side panels or what's behind you, which was a lot of the jamming technology and stuff like that. So even a retired bomber there, I mean, the B-1B is still operational, but that bomber was not operational. Still secrets in the cockpit, right? You couldn't take certain pictures, which was kind of cool.
When we were on vacation in the Keys a couple weeks ago, there's this state park. It's like Fort Zachary Taylor State Park, and so like we walked around, and you could like climb up on the roof of this old fort that was like a civil. I think it was
Civil
built
War?
like after the Civil War or before. I can't remember the exact timeline, but there's like a dock there, like there's, active military operations, there's a Coast Guard ship, and there was a sign as you're staying there. It's like, it's illegal to take pictures or have drawings of U.S. military operations without the, admiral or commander's consent. And it's like, whoa, it's intense. I mean, it makes sense.
Right?
But
how's that going to work
intense.
at Coronado with NASCAR next year, Can we not?
That is
people not take pictures?
Well, you just couldn't take pictures of the ships or something.
Yeah,
I guess.
Like that. But,
it was interesting.
But yeah, still secrets out there for sure, even with retired aircraft. But no, it was a fun weekend with me and my two brothers, and went 1 and 2 overall. Won't be our first venture into the Axis and Allies tournament world, but it was fun.
Elsewhere, Daguerre said, "Love that you managed to include ombudsman in the episode. One of the few Swedish words that's made it abroad. Another
Props
one being
to you.
smorgasbord." By the way, I think Marcus Ericsson would make a good ombudsman if next season goes just as badly for him.
I like the word ombudsman.
Yes, I only know the word because ESPN used to have an ombudsman back in the day.
They did.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Which was good. Like, I actually read it because I was like, yeah, this is interesting. Like, companies don't do that.
Yeah, no.
But they don't do it anymore.
Not anymore. No.
They have their other issues to figure out. YouTube TV.
Yeah, come on, people.
Yeah, figure it out. Fix it. Poet Shevchenko pulled this nugget, and it's fascinating. This is from Bob Pockrass on the wanting to depose Hendrick and Penske with the 2311 FRM filing. It is NASCAR that included Mr. Hendrick and Mr. Penske on their trial witness list, despite counsel for the two men repeatedly telling plaintiffs that they had no intention of testifying. Poet Shevchenko said, "Look at all this trial news, and my first thought is, Honda definitely want to be a part of this." Yeah, no, they don't want to be a part of this.
Correct.
I think that Honda thing is really cool. I get that we don't have an answer, but I think it's more because they're hammering out contract details for an extension. I feel like the NASCAR side is very much cool, and I don't think this trial has helped at all.
No, not at all. And people have been saying, with the Alex Palou things, this is not what IndyCar needs, blah, blah, blah. Look across all the major motorsports. You have that going on. You have this going on in Cup. You have in Formula One, it seems like a new lawsuit or whatever being filed
all the time.
Right? No, what's the new one with Massa with with the championship from what?
Oh, yeah, with Flavio Briatore, the championship in 2008?
I mean, there's litigation going on for that.
Yeah.
He's filed. It's 17
that litigation came back up again, right? Because there was different litigation before.
Correct. So it's, this is not unique to IndyCar, right? And maybe the least ugly out of all of them when you look at what's going on in Cup and Formula One.
For sure. Lynn, also, this is did we really think Coyne would have both cars announced before Halloween, especially after VK announced he wasn't returning? I think you're waiting on an F1 team for this seat, and that he's presuming Yuki Tsunoda, which there are rumors around Yuki Tsunoda coming to IndyCar, which would be incredible.
I mean, Yuki Tsunoda is in a commercial. I can't remember what the product is with Gordon Ramsay. Have you seen that commercial? I think it's maybe it's like a knife line or something, but it's Yuki Tsunoda and Gordon Ramsay in a commercial together. But yeah, that'd be great to have him in IndyCar. I would be very, very surprised but welcome it for sure.
I had posted Charlie Brown trying to kick the football gif with the Dale Coyne story.
Always a classic.
And Jeremy from HBG said, lots of good holidays out there for Dale Coyne Racing to choose from. Valentine's Day would be fine.
Yeah. What do we have in January? Like Martin Luther King Day?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we can throw that out there. Valentine's Day. Right. And
then the season starts.
Hopefully it's before Easter, because that'd be the start of the season.
Yes. I posted this poll. Which driver do you most want to see race in an Indy 500 one day? Valentino Rossi, Kyle Busch, Sebastian Vettel, or Connor Zilisch? 47% of you said Zilisch. Just over 20% said Vettel. 17% said Kyle Busch. 7.5% said Valentino Rossi. Few replies here. Nick J. Fletcher also want to give an honorable mention to Marty Roth again. Don't call it a comeback. Bauer Racing said you, Justin.
Oh, and, we've been close a couple years. Just haven't been able to hammer out all the details.
Ferrari_podcast said I have to go with my F1 hero, Seb, as in Sebastian Vettel.
Zilisch won, I think, for good reason. I mean, he's the dude out of the four.
Most likely,
and I think forward-thinking in terms of when we're looking at getting young eyes on the product, right? The other three would be tremendous, but I think Zilisch is the dude, at least stateside, that would really move the needle the most, particularly as he gets into Cup and presumably starts winning races.
Formula_AO1 said Max Verstappen, but he'll never want to delve into that idea. Yeah, it would be great if he do it, but he has no interest.
I think he have a better chance at Joss doing it than Max.
Yeah. 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 And then Lynn had this to say on Hunter-Reay back with McLaren for the Indy 500. He said, better chance of winning with DRR. He'll be an extra car getting pit crew members added just for that race. It's an interesting point, and we did talk about it. I don't know. I mean, are you pulling from a sports car operation with that pit crew? Like what, that's always the curious thing.
Yeah.
But DRR is pulling from, it's an Indy 500 only entry. So I feel like you're getting guys who are more experienced in terms of in the rhythm. Maybe not in terms of years of experience as an Indy 500 pit crew member, but in terms of in season, what a different discipline outside IndyCar, probably still competing as a pit crew member. And I think that's important.
And to remember is some of these experienced guys don't want to do full time.
Yes.
And that's what DRR thrives on. Dudes that just want to do it for a month and a half or whatever to prep the car, and they do it after their day jobs or whatever, or take an extended leave from their regular jobs. And they have a lot of experience, but they don't want to commit 6-7 months and a full season into it. So I don't know if there's plenty of those types of people out there, but I think there's enough if you don't want to pull from another series to try to, use guys that way, is hire some. We have plenty of, or not, maybe not plenty anymore, plenty of driver one-offs or some driver one-offs. I think there's more crew one-offs for Indianapolis than maybe we realize.
Time for news and notes. Couple of testing nuggets. First, they tested at Phoenix, and Scott Dixon had good things to say in terms of the tire test, Firestone tire test at Phoenix. It is confusing because we don't have the time schedule for this race, but we at least got NASCAR's TV schedule out, and this race will presumably be mid-afternoon Eastern, probably just after lunchtime local for IndyCar, because I was going to say Xfinity. The O'Reilly race is at 7:30, but I believe that's Mountain Time when I looked that up. And what's confusing is that's the weekend that daylight saving time, begins? And Phoenix and Arizona doesn't observe DST.
Oh, really?
Yes, they're the lone holdout. It used to be Indiana and Arizona. Now it's just Arizona.
Yeah.
And so that'll be confusing.
They're onto something.
Yeah. So they will not spring forward. They will just go to Pacific time on the Sunday. But yeah, all in all, Phoenix will be interesting because it did not work previously, like 10 years ago, and I'll be curious if it's better with the new layout of the track. Then you have to factor in all the NASCAR rubber on the track as well. How's that going to play a role?
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing that I'm glad they're testing. But that is one thing we have not talked about that seemingly was the reasoning for some other NASCAR, IndyCar doubleheaders to not work is you're going to have all this different kind of rubber on the track, right? So between Xfinity and IndyCar and Cup, what's that really going to look like in terms of the rubber? So that's still a question that I have. My question is, how good can the IndyCar product at Phoenix be when it's going to be so different tire-wise from what Xfinity and Cup are putting down? That's my greatest concern with this race. Not whatever time it is, all that stuff. My thing is, can it be a good show at Phoenix?
And IndyCar's been good on short ovals. I mean, they weren't good necessarily in that previous era at Phoenix, but they've figured it out at short ovals recently in the last couple of years. So let's hope that continues. But they haven't
had to worry about other rubber on the
correct,
at least stock car rubber.
Yes. Then another thing, racer dampers could be closed for development on the next Indy car. They're currently one of the few things that's actually open. So on one hand, that does reduce costs. On the other, you're making it even more spec than it already is.
I joked around with you that are we going to get to a point where you are administered cars at the beginning of the year, and then you have to turn back those cars in at the end of the year, and they're basically just all the same. And
I mean, if they get rid of dampers and make it spec, I mean, you might as well just do that, right?
I mean, we could be potentially heading for even more spec if Honda's gone and everybody has a Chevy engine. Like, on the one hand, I'm kind of surprised at this because it is one of the advantages that Penske has, and Ganassi for that reason, but with Penske in control of the series, I think it's admirable because Penske could easily say, of course, we're going to keep dampers unique because that's where we have the edge, or the more higher funded teams, right? So it is admirable to say maybe they're going to get rid of that and level the playing field further. At the same time, it's a fine line between reducing costs and becoming just everything spec, right? I mean, it's just, I like tongue in cheek is what I said, but it's like, you just grab a chassis or grab a car off the heap at the beginning of the season and they're all the same. And you just say, it's like go-karts, right? You just go and pick a go-kart, whichever one you get into. They're all the same. It just, at some point, there has to be some level of development within this series, right? Could this be something where it's just for the final couple years of this car and then it opens back up?
I don't think so. You don't do it that way.
Well, I just thought maybe they're trying to cut costs the final couple years before they have to incur bigger costs by buying brand new cars. That's kind of what I was hoping for. But, I don't know. This is it's a spec series, yes, but it's becoming more and more spec, which is, I understand why you have to have a certain amount of spec, but gosh, you're just taking anything away from development because we talked.
Spec racing is really against a core value of motorsport when you think about it, right?
And dampers have been so much a talking point over the last couple of years because take Foyt, for example. One of their big things was like our damper program was non-existent. Then our partnership with Penske, all of a sudden we have access to what we need to really make some tremendous strides on track. And whether that continues with Penske or not, who knows? But you're just taking that completely away. And that's that's one thing I do like about Formula One is, you see throughout the season, let alone the off season, where teams are continuously bringing upgrades to their cars throughout the season. There's nothing like that in IndyCar. And it's becoming, you're having less and less of the car that you can design and improve upon on your own. So why not just turn the cars in at the end of the season and IndyCar puts them all together and fixes them and whatever upgrades there are, and you come in for the open test in February and there's a line of 25 cars and you say, okay, this one's yours, this one's yours, this one's yours. I mean, we're reaching that point, aren't we?
But wouldn't the teams revolt saying, hey, you gave me a dud car?
Well, they're supposed to be all the same. That's kind of where we're going with this spec, right? All the cars are the same. So what's it matter? You're assigned a car. Similar to engines. You are assigned an engine. That could be a engine that's going to blow the first test or the first practice. We saw that with Scott Dixon last year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why not just the cars? Every car is the same. Just grab one off the heap.
This is your rant for the week.
I guess, even in the off season, we got to find something to, but I just I saw that story. I was like, really? Are we just taking any iota of independent thought and
like the little innovation that's left is
going away?
Could go away
because everything is costs. You know what? Auto racing costs a hell of a lot of money. You knew that going in if you're the teams. And look, every person deals with everyday person. We are dealing with rising costs everywhere, right? For food to bill, everything's going up. So you know what? Auto racing is going up too. That's just the nature of the beast, right?
Yes.
That's my this week.
In rant.
I don't know. I just, if you can't handle the rising costs, then maybe you shouldn't be in the series.
Elsewhere, AJ Foyt Racing announced their second driver, the number 4 Indy Lights car, will be Nicolas Monteiro, Brazilian-American. So you'll have Enzo Fittipaldi and Nicolas Monteiro, two drivers with Brazilian ties in Lights next year. So their lineup is set, and really just only a few seats left to announce in that series. And speaking of Foyt, they're doing something that's pretty cool. So in regards to the Homes for Our Troops livery for Santino Ferrucci, you can bid to have lunch with Santino Ferrucci. It's on eBay. Just check Foyt's social media for the link for that. But basically, you're bidding. It'll support Homes for Our Troops to build specially adapted homes for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. And so you could have lunch with Santucci. Lunch for two. With Santucci. So there you go.
And you can have a beer chugging contest.
Was that Road America, right, that he did that? Yeah. Let's talk about one of our favorite topics.
International races?
Yes.
Oh,
did you
know we had it?
Okay, that was impressive.
Tidbit.
We do. This is translated from Spanish. Shout out to Garcia_Esteban5. But Brazil wants to host Indy and NASCAR races. The president of the Brazilian Confederation of Motorsport confirmed to Grand Premio, which is, I believe they cover motorsports, that 3 Brazilian cities want to host IndyCar and NASCAR races in the future.
Rio?
I actually got to translate the article here first. So
Sao Paulo, and is there a third? There you said 3?
Sao Paulo, Goiânia. I've actually not heard of that. And Brasilia. Sao Paulo, the front runner, because they already host Formula E, Formula One, and WEC. Now, Goiânia, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. They're going to host the Brazilian MotoGP in 2026.
Sao Paulo is where Interlagos is, right?
Yes.
So that would be a permanent. Like, do the other 2 have road course?
Well, interesting enough, Sao Paulo is the front runner because it already hosts Formula E, as I mentioned, at Anhembi. And that's where, obviously, IndyCar raced. About 12 years ago or whatever. So, either way, this is interesting. I think this is a good fit for IndyCar, especially as we're suddenly getting a lot of Brazilian interest in IndyCar again. You have a full-time driver in Caio Collet. You have a couple guys in Lights. You have Elio Castroneves still driving. I think this is fascinating.
And this is inward what Brazil wants. Brazil wants to host, right?
Yes.
So this is opposite of IndyCar saying, hey, we'd love to get into South America. We'd love to get to such and such.
No, this is Brazil officials saying, we're interested in IndyCar and NASCAR.
So 3-race international series. We'll just 3-race Brazil series, and we'll go to all 3 in January.
Sign me up.
Let's do it. But this is positive news. Again, nothing concrete, but it would be wise for IndyCar to at least go down there and take a meeting or 2.
Definitely.
See what they can hammer out. Where is Interlagos? Am I wrong?
Sao Paulo.
Sao Paulo. So there's 2 courses. big courses in Sao Paulo.
And Rio de Janeiro is going to build a new racetrack apparently as well. So keep that in mind. Will Power is set to test in 75 Express's Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo this weekend at the IMSA test at Daytona. Wants to make his Rolex 24-hour debut.
I didn't
never
done the Rolex.
Yeah, never got the nod with Penske, which I think was maybe another reason why he wanted to leave, is to have that opportunity.
Good point.
A couple other things tied to IndyCar. I don't know if you saw this, but Sebastian Weldon's on the pole position for the FIA F4 World Cup in Macau. And I believe that Takuma Sato's kid is starting 8th.
Really?
As well, yes. Rentaro Sato, who is 19, Sebastian Weldon, who's 16, competing in that race.
Man, Sebastian Weldon's just going to be a beast.
It seems to be. And speaking of beasts, John Force officially announced his retirement, 16-time NHRA Funny Car champion. There will be no Forces in NHRA next year. No Andretti's in IndyCar next year.
It's like no Andretti's in IndyCar. No Forces.
Just end of an era in both those sports. Speaking of the Indy 500, IMS Museum, new exhibit that's open right now. 8 pace cars ranging from 1915 to 2011 now on display as they're setting the pace exhibition. And then coming soon, they will have a new exhibition, as I find the feature, November 22nd. Now stay tuned, which is highlighting the broadcasters of the Indianapolis 500.
The broadcasters of the 500 and the podcasters of the series.
No, we're not featured.
Okay. No?
Unfortunately not. And then a couple other quick notes to get to. I don't know if you saw this, but Chip Ganassi Racing has signed Cam Becker, who is 11 years old, to a driver development deal. Youngest ever champion of the Lucas Oil Formula Car Race Series. That from Bob Pockris.
How much do you think that contract's worth?
I
mean, how much are they giving to an 11-year-old? It's not a lot, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's money. I think it's more of just being in the system. Like, This is kind of gives me like shades of, McLaren or Red Bull driver development or like in European soccer with their, development teams. It kind of feels shades of that.
I guess. I mean, to be 11-year-olds and be able to...
Remember Max Garcia, who's in Lights? Or was it Max Garcia or Max Taylor? One of them was with ECR like years ago as a driver development guy, right?
Yeah.
Right? I'm not making that up, right? They had signed someone who's really young.
Taylor, but maybe I'm wrong. But can you imagine an 11-year-old kart guy, in karting having a Chip Ganassi Racing sticker on the side of his car?
No, I cannot.
Like, I'm not.
I mean, you can't even like I don't even know what series that he would.
It's karting,
be in.
Right?
I guess. I mean, he was in Lucas Oil, school, so he's at least driven a Formula car. But I mean, this isn't even like USF 2000 level.
It's at least. I mean, it's not to the level of like college football programs offering middle schoolers like scholarships, but it's close. 11 years old.
Yeah. Fascinating. Weird. Right? NASCAR video game numbers in. Adam Stern pulled this from J-Ski. Roughly 200,000 copies of NASCAR 25 have been sold through PlayStation and Xbox users. That does not include PC, which launched earlier this week. Ahead of schedule in terms of sales, we are over the moon thrilled from an iRacing official. So, look, if you're IndyCar, that's good.
If you can get half that in that time,
you can get a quarter of that.
I think it'd be huge. I'm really looking forward in 2026, at least the first half of 2026, more information coming out about that game. Like I mentioned, game engine footage, details on what it's going to have. I mean, as a casual gamer still, I'm really looking forward to it because I haven't played in Indy. I mean, I don't do iRacing or anything. I don't do like Forza where you can download Indy cars and stuff like that. Like I haven't had an IndyCar game since
IndyCar Series 2005.
I don't even think I own that. I think my aunt randomly had it, and we would play it.
Yeah, one of my friends had it on his. Was it Wii or PlayStation? No, IndyCar Legends on Wii.
Wii, yeah.
But then also IndyCar Series 2005. I think, was PlayStation.
Yeah, I played the Legends game on Wii way back in the day. But yeah, it's been a minute. I'm looking forward to it.
And finally, in terms of the notes, and then we'll have a cool history item, Omologato, which is a watchmaker, if you're into collecting watches, they made a watch to commemorate Alex Palou's Indy 500 win. So you can check out their website. 109 special watches, so it's one of 109.
And 30% of the proceeds go to Alex Palou's legal fees.
I was like, where are you going with this? Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. And then history lesson. On this day, November 14th, in 1945, Tony Holman saved the Indianapolis Motor Speedway after World War II and the years of neglect. He brought it back. So
that worked out pretty well.
Purchased the track from Eddie Rickenbacker on this day in 1945.
I would like to learn more about that period in Indianapolis Motor Speedway history. Like, we know that it became run down and decrepit during the war and all that stuff, but like, you know, the process of finding it, buying it, all that stuff, like how close it was before it would just be razed, right? I would love to read a book just about that time period, and because I don't think we appreciate the magnitude of that as much as we should. It would have been gone. And you see pictures, and it very much was run down. Like, all it needed was a bulldozer to come in and take it out. And it was saved this day, 80 years ago?
I think so.
1945 to
yeah, that would be 80 years. I'm bad at math. All right, with that, time for our random split air driver of the week.
All right, so everybody has heard of this driver, but I still was very unfamiliar with his career in the split era, particularly IndyCar and Champ Car, and that's Casey Mears.
Oh, yes.
So Casey Mears, obviously familiar last name, the nephew of four-time Indy 500 winner Rick Mears, the son of Roger Mears,
who also raced in the Indy 500.
Correct. A couple of years in the early 80s, I want to say. He started the Indianapolis 500. The split era for him, he did 5 races over 2 years in Champ Car in 2000 and 2001. That 2001 season, he actually did both series. He did the IRL with Gallus Racing for 3 races, and then did not qualify for the Indianapolis 500 in an Oldsmobile G-Force in 2001. But I thought it was interesting, in Indy Lights, he did portions of 5 different seasons in Indy Lights, 3 of which under Team Mears, which I didn't know was a thing, and then Doricott Racing in 1999 and 2000. He ended up winning just 1 race in those 5 years in Indy Lights, 2000 at Houston, and then was able to get the last race of the season in 2000 at Fontana, finished 4th, and then first half of the season in 2001 with Gallus Racing in IRL, then the latter 4 races in 2001 in kart with Monon Racing, and top finish of 8th. And then, of course, got into NASCAR, was with Chip Ganassi, Hendrick, later in his career, Germain Racing. I think he raced this past year with Garage 66, didn't he, in a race?
He 2. So he was at Martinsville, and then the second Daytona race, and then he did Talladega, Martinsville. So wait, what's the earlier? So he did both Martinsville races, the second Daytona race, Talladega, and Phoenix, which was the finale. So he did the final 3 races of the year. Best finish of 18th at Talladega. And
that was the first time he had been on track since 2019 in Cup. And so has done a lot of different stuff, raced plenty in Xfinity, trucks. He's done ARCA. He's done 24 Hours of Daytona. He even did Stadium Super Trucks back in the late 2010s. But as we're looking at it for the split era, was a master of a little bit of everything. He did he did Indy Lights in 1996, the Cleveland Grand Prix, and then started full-time in 1999. After testing Indy cars for multiple teams in 2000, he was offered a chance to drive a third entry for Team Rahal at California in October. That's where he posted his career-best fourth-place finish in his kart series debut, and he attempted to qualify for the 2001 Indianapolis 500, ultimately did not make it. He ended the season by filling in for injured Champ Car driver Alex Zanardi in that season. So had the opportunity to fill in for Zanardi that year in 2001, of course, after his accident. So Casey Mears, still just 47 years old. I guess I didn't realize he's still pretty young, only 4 years older than Ryan Hunter-Reay, who just signed a deal to race 2 years in the Indianapolis 500. He won the 2007 Coke 600, and that was his only win in Cup. 494
He only had
races.
one win in Cup? I mean, I saw that he finished second in the Daytona 500 one year.
Yeah, 494 races over 16 years, one win for Casey Mears.
Wow.
But did a lot of racing. And again, the nephew of Rick Mears, son of Roger Mears, Casey Mears, this week's random Split Era Driver of the Week.
That does it for us this week from the WELT studios. We'll be back next week, talk the latest and greatest in IndyCar, and I believe we have a special guest as well. Yes.
Oh.
I got to confirm it, but I believe we have a special guest as well next week. For Justin Kinney, I am Caleb Hatch. This has been New Track Record Podcast.